Welcome back to the show, my friends. It is a beautiful late spring day, the beers are cold, and we got the perfect spot for today's cookout. So why don't we just move on with today's recipe? Let's start with something very simple. We are going to make some bread croutons. And for that, we're just going to need to cut some bread into cubes and to toast it up in a hot pan with some olive oil. Up next, the star of today's show. I've got some turbot. To fillet it, let's start by making a cut behind the head. Then locate the spine and drag your knife just on top of it. Now get your knife around the spine and gently slide it on those smaller bones, and if you're doing it correctly, the fish will start to open up kind of like a book. And we got our first fillet here. Now remember, turbot has actually 4 fillets, 2 on each side. And now let's get rid of the skin, and for that hold the tail of the fillet firmly with a paper towel and sort of push the knife to work your way forward. Now that the fillets are cleaned, we can go ahead and season them with some salt and pepper. Let's keep it simple because we don't want to overpower the flavor of the fish. We want this dish to be very yummy, so we're going to make a potato cream. We're going to need exactly 250 grams of potatoes, and we're going to cook them in some water. But if you want to push this recipe a step further, use some fish stock. Moving on, let's make some herb oil. Let's combine some olive oil, thyme and white fennel. Let it simmer for about 30 seconds, then put it aside and let the oil infuse all the flavors. The potatoes are cooked and we're going to put them inside of a blender, and we're going to add some salt. Now we need to heat up some water, cream and butter. So I've got a little creative here because I was out of pots, but if you're doing it at home, you can easily do it in your microwave or in a regular pot. And once the butter has melted, just add everything to the blender. Now turn it on and blend it until smooth. So this is actually a smoothie maker, so it needs a little help, but in the end it gets the job done. And that is the exact texture that we were looking for. Then I went ahead and I blanched some flat beans. They need to be crunchy and just slightly cooked. We are making some sautéed vegetables, and for that we're going to need some garlic. Then cut the flat beans. Next, the datterini tomatoes. If you don't have them, you can easily replace them with some ciliegini. And last but not least, the zucchini. This is really the peak of the season of summer vegetables, so the smells that are coming out of them are just incredible. And now let's add some salt and pepper to the veggies. And now let's put the pan over some very high heat fire. And now I would recommend you to add some white wine. So I didn't have any, and this is why I used beer. For the final touch, I'm going to add some Greek basil. I really love to use this kind of basil because it stays fresh for much longer. And now let's brush some of the oil that we made earlier over the fish. The next step is to heat up the cast iron, and we want it to be extremely hot. And now let's put the fillets on the grill, and because the heat is so high, we're going to grill them just about a minute per side. By doing so, the meat will remain extremely juicy. Cast iron is an amazing material, and the grilling experience is much superior than what you could have with a regular pan. After about 2 minutes, the fish is ready and we will remove it from the fire. Now let's heat up the potato cream and the veggies, and I'm also going to add some olives. We're going to add some extra creaminess to the dish, and for that we're going to use some burrata cheese. Trust me on that one, because this ingredient is going to bring your food on the next level. And we're going to add about a spoon of it on the bottom of the plate. Right after that, we're going to add the potato cream. Up next is a very important part, the crunchy part. By adding the bread croutons, you can already see that we're going to play with different textures in this dish. The vegetables are going to provide us with some freshness. And finally, we can add some of that delicious fish. And just like so, there you have it. That's a phenomenal dish. you should really give it a try. You will experience a lot of different flavors and especially textures that go very well together. We got the freshness of the vegetables, the umami of the fish, the creaminess of the potato cream, and the fattiness of the burrata brings everything very well together. And guys, that will be the end of today's video. If you're still with me, thank you very much for watching. I wish you all a wonderful cookout and goodbye from Outdoor Eaters.
Com'è buona?
È buonissimo.